So a pretty standard job responsibility of resident directors in higher ed is being on duty. So that can look a little different depending on the university that you work in, and it looks a lot different when you're on a ship. So I thought that I would talk a little bit about what it means to be on duty, how we make the schedule and things like that. And then I actually took little shots of my, every single day I was on duty on the ship. So we made the duty schedule prior to getting on the ship when we met in Colorado in June. Everybody was assigned a number of days based off of the countries they hadn't preferenced in their top 3. So it ends up working out to 7 or 8 days on duty over the course of the entire voyage, which really isn't too bad. When we're on duty, you pick up the phone at 8 p.m. and you keep it until the following 8 p.m. unless you're on for 48 hours at a time, which is sometimes the case. When you're on duty, you have to stay on the ship for the duration of that 24 or 48 hours, and your biggest thing is responding to calls from voyagers and responding to emergencies, or the helping out with security if they need any help with things. So there's a lot of miscellaneous reasons why people call. It could be that they lost something like a passport or a wallet or a phone, so they're calling to consult about that. It could be just nuances with the port that we're in, if we have a shuttle or stuff like that. And then one of the less fun things that we do is in the evenings, not always in the evenings. If students return to the ship and are in an intoxicated state and aren't able to take care of themselves, they do a field sobriety test and they get their blood alcohol tested through a breathalyzer. And then if they are required to stay in our observation room, or more commonly known as the drunk tank on ship, then a resident director has to stay there and chaperone. So usually if that happens, it's for a minimum of 2 hours in order to allow folks' intoxication level to go down. Depending upon how bad it is, you could be there all night. So you'll see that I got a little bit of that in my experience. And yeah, here it is. So being the RD on duty isn't all bad. The pool is completely empty and it's beautiful weather out. One of the downsides is that we're next to a couple extra ships, so the radio we get to carry around keeps picking up other people talking, which makes me a little bit nervous because I keep thinking someone's trying to talk to me, and they are not. On duty for the second day. We're in Spain. It's beautiful out, and I'm here with a gem all to myself. So I'm just about done with duty in Morocco. It's almost 8 p.m. and I will be handing off the phone to one of my colleagues. When you're on duty on the first day in a port, you just pick up the phone in the morning when we get in and then hold the phone till 8. So it's a shorter day. Today was really chill until about 4 o'clock when we started hearing some rumblings about some passport stamping and immigration issues. And so it just so happens that this morning we had 5 immigration officials on board clearing us all, stamping our passports, and one of them was actually stamping passports with an exit instead of enter stamp. And so it was kind of a big mistake. We have some people trying to leave the country in the next 24 or 48 hours, and so they have to come back to the ship and get a entrance stamp, and it just kind of turned into this big whole thing. So aside from that, it was a chill day, but that was a funky and unique issue that we are still kind of finishing up. So it's 5:45 a.m. and I just got back from the medical clinic, which is where we have our observation room, aka drunk tank. I am on duty in Ghana, and I've had pretty easy duty days so far, but I think that I just had the worst of them on the voyage yet. We had about 8 students come through the drunk tank. It was pretty rough. So I'm gonna finish the incident report and hopefully get some sleep. I just woke up on my second to last night on duty, and I slept through the night and got 0 calls, which is actually first, I think. So I'm going into my final night on duty. I've worked pretty much all day in preparation for Sea Olympics, but I have had no calls at all. It is 6 a.m. and I'm wide awake, not because I got any calls last night, but because I slept through the night again. So I hand off the phone at 8 p.m. tonight, and my duty days are done. It's now noon on my final day on duty. I've been up since 6, so I've worked out twice, spent a couple hours in the office, done some laundry, and just some reading. So pretty productive so far. I've still gotten 0 calls, so just waiting for that 8 p.m. phone handoff. I am done. I just got back to my room after handing off the duty phone, and that's it for me for SAS duty. Also potentially of my entire student affairs career. I didn't end up really having any calls, with the exception of the home office calling to make sure that the phone was still working because we were having some issues in another port. But other than that, it was easy, which was really nice after a rough gone experience. So once it was all said and done, duty wasn't too bad. Of course, being stuck on the ship when you could be exploring countries is not always the best, but sometimes it's actually a really nice break from the go, which is often the case when we're in port and on the ship. So definitely a lot of nuance with every single duty day. The observation room / drunk tank isn't super great, but it's only a small portion of the whole voyage altogether, so it's definitely manageable.